I'm a female 27 from Johannesburg, South Africa. My fiance Will, 27M, is American. We met in 2018 during my MSc Master of Science in England. We dated briefly, but lost touch after. In 2021, he reconnected with me via Instagram, and our relationship blossomed. He's visited South Africa a few times, and I've visited him in New York once. In May 2024, he proposed to me during a visit to Johannesburg, and I happily accepted. Recently, I got time off work and visited him in New York again. We also planned a trip to Atlanta to meet his family, whom I hadn't met before. I was excited but nervous. At first, everything seemed fine. His family welcomed me with a big dinner. However, his mother and aunt made some stereotypical and uneducated comments about South Africa, which I found amusing, but also slightly irritating. They kept asking why I sounded British and even compared me to Hermione from Harry Potter. Then his mother said, "I'm honestly wondering how you're South African if you're not black. I didn't even know there were white people in South Africa." As a naturally witty and sarcastic person, I responded without thinking, saying something like, "Yeah, we just magically appeared there one day like poof." In hindsight, I can see how this might have been the wrong approach, but it was my immediate reaction. His mother and aunt were clearly offended, and the evening became awkward. Will noticed the tension and got upset. When he drove me back to my hotel, he started ranting about how disrespectful I was to his mother and aunt. He talked about how important respect is in his family and didn't let me explain. I apologized, still confused because I didn't think much of my comment at the time. It was meant to be lighthearted. However, Will raised his voice, expressing his disappointment and saying we'd talk about it later. Since then, he hasn't responded to my messages or come back to the hotel to speak to me. Now I'm wondering if I was really out of line. I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but I didn't expect them to be so sensitive. So, am I the idiot? Now for a few important comments. Commenter, not the idiot. I'm most bothered by your BF Tahay. His family says all this rude crap to you, and to him that's all fine, but the big problem is you clapping back? Seriously? He raises his voice and shuts down your attempts to tell your side. We'll talk about this later. Does he think he has authority over you? Is that the standard in your relationship? Then OP replied, if it weren't for the context, I might have found his reaction humorous because he's never really been the threatening type, and I can't imagine him talking to me like that in any other situation. It felt very forced. Commenter, are your fiancé and his family black? If so, I can see imperialism making your quip not funny to a black family. Then OP replied, no, they're a white American family. I'm assuming their ancestry is Anglo, but as far as I'm aware, neither he nor anyone in his family has done an ancestry test. I'm confused that they had never seen your picture. Were they surprised you were white? Or this was the first time they were able to voice it? Either way, not the idiot. Sounds like you matched their energy. Then OP replied, they have seen me. I think they assumed I was British because we originally met while he and I were studying in England. I don't really understand this myself and currently don't have the opportunity to ask. Commento, you're long distance. You've gone all that way specifically to visit him and he isn't staying at the hotel with you? Unless it's one of those no sharing a room before marriage things, what's that all about? Because if there's not some specific reason, I'd say there's other problems here. Then OP replied, when we were planning this trip, he had suggested to me that we stay with his family. I rejected this idea as I did not want to impose on his family, and am also generally uncomfortable of the idea with staying with others, hence why I booked my own hotel, which I am glad I did in hindsight. I had expected him to stay with me, but I guess he's staying with his family now. I'd give him until tomorrow before booking a flight back. Meanwhile, make plans for yourself. Tomorrow, I'm to enjoy NY. Then OP replied, depending on how tomorrow, or well, today now goes, I'll probably return to NY. My departing flight is from NY anyways, and I have friends there and want to make this a nice holiday and enjoy the rest of the week. Commenter, side note, I'm guessing his mom and aunt have never heard of Elon Musk or apartheid? Then OP replied, I have no idea. I guess not. I'm assuming they think Musk is British, just like they thought I was. OP clarifies, I just want to clarify that while we are in a long-distance relationship, we originally met because we studied at the same university. So it's not a case of online dating or not knowing each other well enough. As for not meeting his family, it's because the only times we've been around each other in person were during university in England, when he visited me in Johannesburg, or when I visited him in New York. His family didn't leave Atlanta during any of these periods. He has met my family during previous visits, and it went well. Commenter: their comments were also very innocuous. Why did you take offense? Then OP replied, while their comments may not have necessarily been intended to be rude, it becomes very exasperating listening to this for more an hour. I didn't include it in the original post because of the limit, but they were asking me how often I see or interact with wild animals. How do I do my work if there's issues with power outages and electricity? Supposed poverty and crime in SA. Don't you feel much safer in America? And continuously asking me why I sounded British and not African. They said more things which I can't even remember or really articulate at this point. After all of this, all I responded with was a light quip, which I don't think should have warranted the reaction it did. OP is voted not the idiot. Now for the next day update. Hi everyone. It's been a long day, and I just wanted to update you all since many of you asked what happened. After a restless night, Will called me around 9 this morning, saying he was coming to the hotel to talk. I was still angry. Last night, he gave me the silent treatment after I messaged him multiple times, and now he wants to talk on his terms? But I figured we needed to sort this out. When he arrived, I didn't let him speak first. I told him how hurt I was by his actions, especially how he shut me out instead of addressing the situation. He apologized, admitting he felt insecure about his family's ignorance and behavior, and took it out on me. He promised to make it up to me, though I completely forgot to ask him why he didn't prepare them beforehand or at least tell them more about me being South African. He also mentioned that one thing about me that he struggles with is that I can be a bit too masculine in the sense that I don't back down, admit when I'm wrong, or know when to stay silent. And this apparently caused problems for him last night. Me not holding my tongue with that quip was embarrassing to him as a display to his family. This links back to something he's mentioned before about how I never get too emotional or cry. He confessed that last night when he dropped me off, he was actually on the verge of tears, so he left like that. He admitted he shouldn't have, and that it was wrong of him to leave me like that, especially after what had just occurred. But then he insisted I needed to apologize to his mother and aunt. I flat out said no. But he kept pestering me, saying he didn't want his fiance's first meeting with his family to end on a bad note. Think of how this looks for me. I eventually, albeit reluctantly, agreed, so I got ready, and we headed over to his parents' place. The car ride was awkward. He kept trying to make small talk about what happened after he dropped me off. We arrived at the house, and honestly, the feeling of dread just hit me again. His aunt was there again, and from what I gathered, she came back specifically to receive my apology. Will's sister, who was there last night, was not there, but the aunt came back just for this, which I found a bit much. This was clearly very important to her to hear me apologize. His dad greeted me, but his mom and aunt were clearly waiting to have their say. They talked about how hurt they were by my comment, and I apologized, saying I didn't mean to offend them. I just didn't know how to respond to what they said last night, and made a joke that wasn't meant to be disrespectful. But they couldn't leave it at that. They started lecturing me about how I was poorly raised in South Africa for speaking to elders like that, calling me ill-mannered. That's when I'd had enough. I turned away from them, and they freaked out. I walked away as they continued ranting. Will tried to grab my arm and tell me I wasn't acting properly, but I pulled away, and he let go. I walked out of their home, and they all followed me, his mom and aunt loudly commenting, and Will trying to talk to me. His father just stood there on the veranda, watching the whole scene unfold. It was probably the most embarrassing moment of my life. I felt like their neighbors would come out to see what all the fuss was about. I asked Will to drive me back to the hotel, but he refused and kept lecturing me, so I called an Uber. Waiting for it was incredibly awkward, with all of them continuing to go on. I eventually got back to the hotel, immediately canceled my flight back to NY with him, and booked a later flight for myself. I checked out of the hotel and waited at the airport until my flight. Now, I'm with my friend in NY. Will has been messaging me nonstop since, so I blocked him on everything. He'll probably continue to annoy me on all my social media and love bomb me when I get back to Johannesburg, but I'll deal with it then. Oh, and I left my thermos, which is sentimental to me because it has a lot of stickers that I've collected over the years, at his flat, which he's not likely going to return to me, but oh well. On a brighter note, I'm planning to enjoy the rest of my holiday with my friend in New York. Thanks to everyone for your comments and messages, and a special thanks to the user who recommended restaurants in NYC. My friend also read my post and agreed with those of you who were skeptical about long-distance relationships. She'd wanted to tell me her concerns for a long time. Thanks again, everyone. I really appreciate the support, advice, and sweet messages. Now for a relevant comment. Commenter? You chose well. His lack of spine is obvious, and he has no idea how much resilience and fight resides in a South African. Then OP replied, was just a bit blinded by our connection in uni. It's still going to sting at the amount of time I invested into this. Am I the idiot for blocking my manipulative mother-in-law's number after she screamed at me over gluten-free pizza? I'm getting married, and I have an insane mother-in-law. Got kicked out of hospitals for harassing her cancer doctor crazy. And she always complains about having to go to a restaurant that has gluten-free options that aren't a salad. She's paying for the rehearsal dinner, and we gave her a long list of places where there's gluten-free options, all in a good price range. She doesn't even know any of the restaurants where I live. Not a single one except the list we gave her. She witched to my fiance about it so badly that he straight up said he wouldn't invite her if she kept doing these kinds of things to me. So bravo to him. She always makes sure, literally tells it to my face, that I am a huge inconvenience. I am literally the bride. Update. My friends and family decided if she makes us go somewhere I can't eat, we're all going to go get drinks somewhere and hang out. Everyone is on board and happy to make sure she doesn't come near me during the wedding. I'm not going to let a narcissist ruin our wedding, and my friends are on board to keep her away. I will say hello and goodbye, but if she tries to say anything more, I'm going to walk away and talk to someone else. If she makes a scene at my wedding, well, I'll watch her make a fool of herself and embarrass herself in front of everyone and enjoy the show, because no one is ever on her side because of the way she acts. Thanks for the support, validation, and kindness. You guys are amazing. Now for the 1-month update. Small update. Getting married and mother-in-law is upset because we have to find a restaurant with gluten-free options for the rehearsal dinner. I'm literally the bride. Update. Well, the situation has been fixed, but I think I almost gave my mother-in-law a stroke. She got a lot more controlling than just the restaurant. Surprise, surprise. First, she called me and screamed that no one in her family can eat at the restaurant we chose, that they all looked at the menu and said they all want pizza. Somewhere I've been glutened before. She said no one in my entire family can eat there. Everyone will be sick. They all hate it. By the way, not giving a shoot about my family. So, I decided to call each and every one of her family members that are coming to the rehearsal and asked if they were fine with eating what we picked. Turns out the mother-in-law called everyone trying to get them to agree with her about getting pizza. They all said they told her they wanted the place we picked, and half of them couldn't even eat pizza. So, she just flat out lied and just really wants pizza. She even started inviting and uninviting whoever she wanted. She was cutting people out of the dinner who actually ate participating in the rehearsal and adding people in who aren't. Well, she called 2 weeks ago and snapped, "We're getting pizza, and you have no choice." So I told her I'm paying for the rehearsal now, not you. We're going to go where we want. You can go get pizza. This witch. This 76-year-old woman responded by screaming. She didn't scream no or any actual words. She just screamed at the top of her lungs. I hung up, blocked her number. My SO is amazing, and that night sent her a text telling her she is no longer any part of the rehearsal or wedding planning. He's been ignoring her texts since, obviously checking for emergencies, but it's just her saying mean shoot to him. I'm so glad to live 350 miles away from this psycho. I just wanted to eat. What in the frick? Now for a few important comments. A commenter suggested, in some locales you can call the local police non-emergency line or drop into the local station and ask about hiring an off-duty officer, in uniform if you wish, to provide security presence at a wedding and reception. And be sure to say they'll get free food too. 8. They may refer you to their local FOP, but young officers are always looking to pick up the odd security job here and there and some extra pay. Their presence tends to have a calming effect on troublemakers. Good luck and best wishes. OP replied, oh, this is so good to know. I frick you not, my entire family is ready to kick her out physically, but I don't want them to have to spoil their time. An officer would be better, and damn, it will be funny when she makes a scene. Another commenter said, you are the bride, with a serious food sensitivity, but everyone will be sick if they eat there, was all she had to say. I guess the fi. Everyone didn't include you, the bride. I hope you enjoy your reception and wedding day. At this point, I would run off and get married on the sly and have a reception and wedding sometime in the future, if and when your controlling mother-in-law comes to her senses. OP responded, I've always wanted a traditional wedding since I was a little girl, but she even made me want to just elope. But I'm not going to let some old mad woman ruin that. I will grab my popcorn and watch her make a fool of herself. No one is going to see her freak out and go, it's the bride's fault. Another commenter added, it sounds like she was not paying for the rehearsal dinner out of kindness, but rather some sort of weird power play as the mother-in-law. Good for you for putting your foot down. We have not seen my husband's mother since our wedding day 13 years ago because she had a history of abuse, narcissism, and lying, and she pulled some toxic shoot at the reception. Sometimes cutting people out of your life is the smart choice. OP replied, she wanted to pay for it because my family is paying for the wedding, and anytime my family does something nice, she has to try and compete. X, my family brought my fiance on a trip to SA for free for 2 weeks. All mother-in-law did was call my fiance to complain and talk shoot about my family. Am I the idiot for confronting my GF about her yoga classes and finding out she was sneaking across the border for weird healing sessions? I know my GF is not telling the truth about going to yoga classes. Sorry for the English, not my first language. Okay, I am hoping that someone will just tell me I am stressing out about nothing. Me, living together with my GF for about a year or so, together for 4. We both have a good relationship and nothing out of the ordinary. I work at a delivery company that does express deliveries all over the province I live in. Because we have express shifts, we have to take a delivery van home every day. We can also use this van for private trips. The company sometimes has to deliver very expensive goods. Therefore, the vans are equipped with a GPS tracker that can locate the van at any given time. A few months ago, my GF started taking yoga classes in the evening. So when we both got back from work, we would eat, and in case I was not on express shift, she could take the van to her yoga class. We live very close to a border. Europe has open borders, yay, but we can only go to other countries with permission of the company. It's an insurance thing as far as I understand. Last week, my supervisor told me that in 9 cases, my van was in the neighboring country in the evening without permission. This was very odd because she told me where she had the yoga classes, and this was definitely not out of the country. I knew I couldn't go out of the country, so I am sure I didn't. I didn't tell my supervisor about the yoga thing, but I asked him for the exact locations so I could take a look at it. What I found out was all the 9 times were exactly the times she had taken the van. Retracing WhatsApp times from the on my way to the time of departure are a match. I got home that day and decided I was not going to ask her up front. However, I did ask her where she had the yoga classes, and she said the same place as last time. So she's basically denying that she was in another country. During the evening, I made up a nonsense story that a coworker got in trouble for driving over the border without permission. She seemed a bit shocked, or somewhat, but did not give any ordinary response or anything. The address I have is just a parking spot in some neighborhood. I drove there last night with my private car to see if I could find anything, but it's just houses and a park. A quick Google search shows no yoga things anywhere around. I could follow her the next time she has yoga class, just to see where she's going and then confront her afterwards. Or should I just tell her right now? This is all really stressing me out at the moment. Any advice would be great. Now for the 1-week update. Sorry for the late update, but I needed some time to think things through. She got home on Friday, and I confronted her with the fact that the van had been abroad without permission and that it had to be her that was driving there. She straight up said she indeed went abroad, but she didn't know I could get in trouble for it. I asked her to explain why she was lying about going there. She decided to do yoga because she has had some back issues from her past. However, she knew a girl, the one abroad in her Facebook, that was all spiritual and could heal her by doing a few sessions at her home. She knows I think this is nonsense, so she decided to tell me that she was going for yoga classes, but instead went to this spiritual girl. I was kind of confused because I expected something entirely different to be going on. I was also having troubles believing her. She insisted I went with her on Saturday to see that nothing weird was going on, so I did. This girl did some weird meditation, drew some cards, and did some other witchcraft shoot. My GF then had to pay 45 euros for this. I kept my cool, but to be honest, I am pissed off at this girl. The only thing she does is sell hope to desperate people. People with real issues that need to get real medical attention. Our way home was pretty awkward. I didn't know what to say. We talked yesterday and I explained to her that I was angry because of the fact that she had to lie about something like this. She said she was afraid of my response and just wanted to see if this could help. I told her that she can do whatever she wants, except lie about it. She promised me she would never do this again. I'm still really confused about all this. I think she is wasting money, and instead of throwing it at some freaky witch girl, she could be investing it in things that would actually improve her back. On the other hand, I am glad she is not cheating. I was almost certain this had to be the case. Anyway, thanks for your responses. Great help. Now for a few important comments. Quebec. If she felt the need to lie about this because of how you'd react, maybe you need to consider your general reactions. Sounds like she was afraid of your judgment, and the phrase freaky witch girl seems to corroborate that. OP replied, I think I know why she was scared of my reaction. We have a big group of friends, which we have known for ages, and we discuss a lot of things in this group when we are all together. There are a few dumb asses in this group who tend to believe everything about anything. I'm talking flat earth, chemtrails, steel beams, and hoaxing a moon landing. When these discussions take place, we disagree with each other, and things can get very heated. Even though we don't agree, we are still very good friends after these discussions. I am almost 100% certain we probably once talked about mediums, alternate medicine, etc. She has probably heard what I said about it and think I would never approve it. Definitely not the usual conclusion to this sort of story. This is true, but certainly more hopeful than the usual conclusion. A bit of advice, OP. If your girl is in pain, physically or otherwise, let her figure it out as she must. She's got junk to sort through. Long-term pain is never simple. And while you may not understand why she feels she needs to follow a particular path, please respect it. She has probably tried many conventional solutions that failed her and may be highly discouraged. If she comes to hurt herself or others, obviously that is unacceptable. But chronic pain of any sort makes the sufferer question everything they had ever come to know about themselves and the world. There is a powerlessness to unpredictable or constant pain that is highly damaging. Let her talk when she wants to. Let her explore things that give her hope and make her feel powerful. Try to withhold judgment. This money could go towards something better until she has seen it through as she must and draws her own conclusions. Once she does, Reevaluate what you can live with and what is a divergence of values. You may come to find that there is ultimately no problem. Just the 2 cents of a former chronic sufferer who followed a similar path, came to recognize it for what it was, and is doing much better now. Edited to add, lots and lots of chronic pain warriors replying in the comments below. It's sobering to remember how many different ways a person can suffer. My heart goes out to you all. I hope you all might find peace and relief. Now for a few comments. OP said, I told her as well that she needs to do what she thinks is best for her, even though I might never choose this option. Then OP added, I was very confused when she told me, but this seems to put my mind at ease a bit more. Finally, OP said, thanks.